make a quick overview of the agenda. Next slide. So after the welcome introduction by DG Regio and ISMEA colleagues, I'll introduce them in a moment. We have a first part on the IS3 instrument policy background from the DG Regional and Urban Policy colleagues. Then comes the core part of the agenda, and this is everything you need to know on the two IS3 instrument investment calls presented by the two call coordinators that I will present or introduce later. Then we have one session where one of my team members will present a good practice from a running IS3 instrument project with some success stories. Then comes an interesting part, and this is also interesting because it's new. Our two financial sector colleagues will introduce to you the new and simplified budget table that we have simplified for applicants and beneficiaries in grant agreement preparation. And then we have a special session for proposals that intend to use financial support to third parties, presented by one other team member. And then we finish with the already announced Slido session and the Q&As, around 40 minutes before I can close then towards midday, towards noon. And the next slide shows once again, I think, yeah, exactly. A reminder, either you take a picture of the QR code or you type directly in slido.com and then IS3 instrument to you ask your questions. And with that, I'd like to introduce actually the two first speakers. Next slide, please. And these are our colleagues from DG Regio, Wolfgang Münch, a senior expert at DG Regional Urban Policy, and then followed by Francesca Doria, who is the head of unit I1 at ISMEA. So I think, if possible, then we should be seeing now Wolfgang on the camera. Colleagues, give me a sign if Wolfgang is ready.
I'm ready, I think. I see myself.
Ah, you see yourself. Then I'm switching off, and I wish you good luck and see you soon.
Well, good morning, everybody, from very sunny Brussels, and thank you for your participation. And I see we are now at 189 participants and counting, so quite successful. Thank you to all ISMEA and Regio colleagues who worked on this event and preparing the new calls. As you know, I3 is a unique instrument, and apparently now we are at 200 participants. Also seems to be a very popular instrument, which really concentrates on SME and EU value chains. These new calls reflect our joint work of the last month. As Eric already told you, it also has for my analysis, a very flexible governance system, because in September 25, some of you had the opportunity to talk to the Executive Vice President Fito and brought up the concern of the very complicated budget tables. And through this initiative, basically, we now have a rather simplified form of it. So please continue to feedback so that we can constantly improve this instrument. Why do these new calls matter? Europe faces a lot of challenges. We are quite good in generating innovations, but we are not so good at deploying and replicating and scaling them across regions, across the EU. So we also need to focus through the geo-economic conditions which we are facing now and will face in future, more on EU value chains and on strategic sectors. All this, of course, requires a bit of bringing in unusual partners to all these activities, and this is what we call possibly the cohesion policy angle, where we also want to bring less developed and transition regions into European value chains and be there and create new prospects for themselves and their territories. Well, as I said, I3 is an instrument that focuses on companies, but also on clusters and other organizations. And here again, it is about creating long-term values in the participating territories. We changed this year and encourage you to contribute to wider strategic industrial activities and initiatives at the European level, where it is particularly important that we mobilize partners everywhere in the EU to do this. You will read in the call that we make a reference to important projects of common European interests and their technology areas where they are. So basically look at this very carefully and see how you can mobilize yourself to really bring innovation, scale, and possibly get closer to the market with strategic technologies. Saying again, as Europe is very good in creating innovation, but not so good at scaling and bringing this innovation to the market, use this opportunity in I3 to move your ideas forward. And this leaves me to wish you a good meeting today. Please pose all the questions you have, and everyone will be happy to answer and give you and help you on the way. Thank you.
Francesca, are you?
Yes.
Yeah, very good. You have the floor.
I am here. Good morning, everyone. Also from me, I'm Francesca Doria. I'm speaking to you from Brussels as well, from ESMEA, so the granting agency, the executive agencies that implements I3 and that organizes the call for proposal, the evaluation, and also that would then do the project management of the winning projects. So it is my great pleasure to also welcome you to this info session. And I would like just to say a few words, thanking also Wolfgang from his policy background explanations that has portrayed to us this morning. So I3 instrument is really about less developed regions, including them into value chain creation, commercialization and scaling up, and creating interregional innovation ecosystem. So the interregional aspect is very important in this instrument. Our role, as I said, as ESMEA, is really to guide prospective applicants towards the application phase, then evaluate your submitted proposal, and then assist you throughout the implementation and also on the substance and financial aspects. My colleagues, Katrina Verde and Pascal Gauchet, that are co-coordinators for this call, will guide you through the features of these new two calls for proposal that we are presenting today. I would like to say that the I3 instrument, as Wolfgang was already referring to, is knowing an increasing success. This is the 5th call for proposals that we have organized for you. There are already 70 I3 projects running. 8 more are in the pipeline. We are, with my colleagues, finalizing the grant preparation. So we have already a good, significant size of running projects. And we are going to present to you also one good practice, also for you to get inspiration of what already exists and what is working well. I would like also to stress that those two calls that we are opening and describing to you today have novelties. Novelties that are caused indeed in this implementation dialogue that some of you had with the Executive Vice President of the Commission, Fito. And those novelties regard a simplified budget table. And this, we hope, is going to be of tremendous benefit to you, to applicants, that will have to do a lighter reporting, of course, very thorough as well, because we need to ensure that figures are solid and the grant is paid against solid financial figures. But in the spirit of simplification, we have adjusted and simplified the budget table. Also, the award criteria has been slightly modified as to make very clear what we are after in the call. And also, the third important change in this call is that we have increased the threshold for financial support to third party or cascading funding. So now in this call, this threshold is fixed at 100K. In the past and previous calls, it was 60K. So that's a significant increase that is going to be presented to you in a minute. I would like to close my intro and welcome words by saying that the ITRE instrument is really growing well, blossoming. We have now representation from all 27 member states, and that's a very good coverage, geographical coverage. And of course, we would like to encourage once more participation from the less developed region. And I'm now giving the floor back to Eric, the moderator, wishing you a very fruitful day. And hopefully we are hopeful to receive many high quality proposals from you. So have a productive morning and thank you very much for joining.
Many thanks, Francesca, and of course Wolfgang before, for your introduction, breaking the ice for this information day session. And now I would like to introduce a new colleague here not a new colleague, a new part of the Info Day with Tomislav Pinter, who works at DG Regional and Urban Policy in the same unit as Wolfgang Münch. Tomislav, you have the floor for the ITRE instrument policy background, please.
Thank you, Eric, and good morning to everyone. Thank you for joining today's Info Day. We already heard this broader policy background for the new calls, and you will see soon from my slides that I also have a slightly different approach than the one that I used in previous years. It's not going to be about some policy messages, because I really think that it's in such a competitive environment for IFRE, for you, that it's important to read the call document and this introduction part and the policy background part. And a few years ago, most discussions around IFRE were really about expectations, what we hoped the instrument could achieve. But today it's different. Today we have projects, we have implementation experience, we have quite a good territorial coverage, and a number of concrete industrial cooperations in these value chains, and we can look at it. And I think this is important because interest in the IFRE instrument keeps growing very, very strongly. Next slide. So I wanted to start with these maps because they show something very interesting about how the instrument is evolving. On the left, you see participation under Strand 1. In the middle, it's Strand 2A. And on the right, the capacity building strand, the one that we just closed with the last call a few months ago. And I think the overall picture is actually quite positive. Of course, it's obvious, and we can see on all three maps that stronger innovation ecosystems still participate more actively, and this is normal. But what we increasingly see is that participation is spreading much more broadly across Europe, including regions that traditionally have lower participation in these direct EU innovation instruments. And this becomes especially visible under Strand 2A, and of course, capacity building Strand even better. And this matters a lot because one of the main objectives of I3 is not only to support innovation excellence, but helping more regions to connect to these European value chains and these European strategic industrial ecosystems. But also, especially from the map on Strand 2A, it is still visible that we have things to do. And for that, in upcoming weeks and months, we will have a number of events in this eastern parts of Europe, starting with Poland, to make this picture even better. Next slide. It's the same, it's again participation, but in terms of budget. This slide in a way complements the previous one, and it shows how actually EU funding through I3 instrument is distributed. Again, we can see that the instrument is reaching a broader range of regions across Europe, and I think this is one of the most interesting developments after several years of implementation. We still see that we have some regions that are obviously champions in I3 instrument, but the logic of I3 is not simply fund the strongest. The logic is really about connecting these regions, their strengths, and creating this interregional investment cooperation around strategic value chains. And this is also very much reflected in these 2026 calls. At the beginning, when we started with writing, we thought that it's not going to be so much different, apart from these main elements that we already heard about detailed budget table. But in the end, it is different, and it's really, really important for you to read the call text from the beginning, especially if you are applying again. We had a number of successful projects so far, but they were not, we simply didn't have enough funding for them. So I'm sure that many of you will come back with your proposals. So please change and adapt not only according to the comments from evaluators, but please again read the whole text. Next slide. And to finish with the statistics, these slides prepared by ESMEA colleagues for the recent I3 expert group meeting gives a very, very good overview of where we stand today after several years of implementation. We now have 78 funded projects across the three strands with more than 350 million euros already awarded or soon to be awarded for these 8 new projects coming from last year calls. If we look at the overall beneficiary structure, we see a strong participation from less developed and transition regions. We see a strong participation from SMEs, and that is good. And this is particularly important because many direct EU innovation instruments traditionally had much more concentrated territorial participation. So I think I3 is increasingly showing that competitiveness and cohesion can actually reinforce each other in practice. Next slide. And this slide is actually a summary of the document that you see on the left. It's the I3 Instrument Observatory report, the first one that we published in 2025, and the new one is coming out in a few months. We see among others, that many partnerships are strongly business-driven. So SMEs are really important for us. Clusters, 63 initiated projects initiated by either clusters or SMEs. Almost all of them are based on some kind of previous consortium collaboration. So this is really important, and this is a reminder that we have some tools to help you with this. Is the Smart Specialization Community of Practice. Another important point is this market orientation. Most projects started around TRL 6, and they are progressively moving to operational prototypes and market-ready solutions, which is great. But we are also aware that building these systems is not a simple thing. It requires aligning a lot of priorities, involving SMEs, preparing all these investment pipelines, connecting all these actors and territories. It's not an easy task, but the good thing for you is that you can now learn from a number of already implemented projects. Next slide. And maybe just to answer some of your questions that might appear in the chat. One is about the role of managing authorities. We knew how this is important. So in the last year, we established 3 discussion groups. One was about the role of managing authorities in the IFRI instrument, the other one on innovation ecosystem management, and the third one on value chains. A lot of interesting findings. This is available for you. A link is on the screen. Please read this before you start writing your proposals. It might be that policy expectations that we want to see from you are actually written here. So just follow the conclusions of these policy briefs. Next slide. And in a way, looking forward, I think IFRI increasingly shows how cohesion and competitiveness can work together in practice. My colleagues from ASMEA will soon explain a bit more about the annual IFRI Instrument Forum, already the second one. I now have a chance to promote the way our event that's approaching soon. It's the Smart Specialization Community of Practice Annual Conference here in Brussels. You can still apply. A link is available here. And we think that smart specialization remains very important. It helps regions identify where they can realistically position themselves inside these wider European value chains. So please use this link and apply. And my final message today would simply be this: the strongest IFRI projects are usually the ones that clearly understand where they bring values not only to themselves but to the regions where they are coming from, and those that know how to connect to wider European ecosystems, and those that know how innovation can translate into long-term opportunities. I'm looking forward to your interesting proposals, and now over to you, Eric.
Many thanks, Tomislav, and also for being in time with your slot. We could catch up a bit of our delay. And now, after this framing by the DG Regio and ASMEA colleagues, I would like to hand over to the next speaker. And Pascal Gaucher is one of the coordinators in my team that deals with the Strand 2A call. And she will now, together with Caterina Verde, present the core of today's information day, the call document. I think, Pascal, you can now open the camera, and I'll hand over to you with pleasure.
Yeah, thank you, Eric. Yes, I hope you hear me. And good morning to everyone. So I'll give you some hints of the codes, but please read them carefully because everything is in the text of the code. So next slide, please. So the I3 instrument is structured in strands, which cover key interventions areas. So Strand 1 provides support for investment in interregional innovation projects in shared smart specialization areas. Strand 2A provides support for investment in interregional innovation projects for the development of value chain in less developed regions. There's also a Strand 2B, as already mentioned, which strengthens capacity building for the development of value chain in less developed regions. The I3 instrument covers 3 thematic priorities, which are common to all strands: green transition, smart manufacturing, and digital transition. I3 supports integrated interregional investment projects where partners work together around shared priorities and a coherent investment logic. I3 also includes technical assistance and experimentation, as mentioned by Tomislav, through the I3 support facility. Next slide, please. Under the strands 1 and 2A, subject of our course, the focus is on bringing mature innovation into deployment across EU regions, moving from technology readiness level 6, TRL 6, to TRL 9. This is represented in blue on the right side of the slide, from demonstration to scale-up, while the capacity building phase focuses on learning and connecting on the left side in orange, and it is supported through the I3 Strand 2B, so-called CAP2B, the I3 support facility, and the Smart Specialization Community of Practice, the S3 COP. Next slide, please. So indeed, as said, under Strand 1 and 2A course, the I3 instrument business cases must start with a minimum TRL 6. They must have the ambition to facilitate demonstration and accelerate market uptake and commercialization. The projects are therefore expected to use the I3 course for validation, demonstration, adaptation, replication, scale-up, and market uptake. Next, please. So each of the 2 cores has its specific objectives. They are presented here in bullet points, but to summarize, the Strand 1 core targets consortia of innovation actors aimed at increasing the competitiveness and resilience of EU value chains by taking new and innovative solutions towards market maturity, leading to new or significantly improved products, service, or production processes. While Strand 2A core focuses on supporting the creation of new value chains in less developed and transition regions in existing pan-European value chains. This by supporting the creation or diffusion of innovation solutions. Under both strands, projects support innovation actors with investment ideas that are ready to be developed into mature business cases through a portfolio of complementary and interlinked investment across the participating region. Next slide, please. Each call includes a non-exhaustive list of expected impacts for the 3 thematic priorities mentioned before at the closure of the project, so short-term and also long-term. So just to give you an example of short-term impact, without reading you all the list, for Strand 1, you have the innovating technology are tested and adopted by the market. For Strand 2A, you have the creation of new value chains in less developed and transition regions. So at the end of the project's implementation, all involved regions and partners should have a clear perspective on how to exploit and build on the project's results. To give you an example of long-term impacts this time, for Strand 1, you have the increased competitiveness and resilience of EU value chains. For Strand 2A, you have the reduction of the innovation divide between more developed and less developed regions. All I3 projects are expected to generate and disseminate also good practice experience via the I3 support facility or the S3 COP regarding the implementation of their interregional investment for lesson learnings. Next slide, please. Both calls target consortia of regional ecosystem actors from the quadruple helix, which is composed of SMEs, innovation intermediaries, public administration, research centers and academia, clusters, civil society, and also end users. But to be eligible, a proposal must include a consortium of applicants, of beneficiaries, which comply with some eligibility conditions. Some are specific to each call. So for Strand 1, a consortium must include at least 5 independent legal entities established in 5 different regions of at least 3 eligible countries. And at least 2 legal entities must be established in a less developed region. While in Strand 2A call, a consortium must include at least 3 independent legal entities established in 3 different regions of at least 2 eligible countries. And at least 1 legal entity must be established in more developed regions. For each call, the consortium coordinator must be a public body or a non-profit organization or an entity entrusted by national or regional governments to develop or implement innovation investment actions for SMEs, such as a cluster organization, development agency, or innovation agencies, etc. Next slide, please. So the project will be implemented through, as mentioned, an investment portfolio approach, when the beneficiaries, so including the SMEs and third-party SMEs, if any, can play a role in specific segment of the EU value chain within the specific thematic technological area. And the project activities must cover the so-called three dimensions: interregional, innovation, and investment. Within the interregional dimensions, you find the interrelated innovation investment across the regional value chain, coordinated through S3, the balanced portfolio involving the regions at different levels, the quadruple helix partnerships, cross-regional collaboration, also accelerating innovation deployment and market uptake. Under the innovation dimension, you retrieve the level of TRL with minimum 6, the activities of testing, validation, demonstration in real operational environments, and commercialization and scale-up activities accelerating market uptake. And under the investment dimension, you will find the tangible and intangible investment aligned with the ERDF regulation, investment supported by market analysis and business investment plans, public and private co-investment leveraged by the project, and multi-level investment architecture, regional, national, and EU level. Next slide, please. So the type of support provided includes one or both of the 2 forms: financial support and non-financial support. So financial support is made through direct funding of consortium beneficiaries and or through cascade funding to SMEs, the so-called FSTP, financial support to third parties, but which is optional under both calls. And also non-financial support that can be advisory support, such as on IPR, standardization, certifications, etc., but also networking activities, such as matchmaking, training, coaching, mentoring, linked to the innovation solutions. Each call also includes specific requirements. First, a minimum of 70% of the total direct eligible cost must be allocated to investment in companies with a focus on SMEs. So this includes the cost of the SME consortium partners, the cost for financial support to third parties, if there is, and also non-financial support provided to the SMEs belonging to the portfolio. The second requirement is that a minimum of 50% of the total eligible cost must be incurred in less developed regions. And in proposal where there is or there will be FSTP, the cost for FSTP cannot exceed 30% of the total eligible cost. And the proposal should describe how these three requirements will be met. Next slide, please. The progress in implementing the I3 program and the projects are measured with indicators identified in the following dimensions, and there are more details in each goal. So you have KPIs about local, interregional dimension, the type of project participants, innovation dimensions, and at the end of the project, KPIs about social economic benefits, employment, investment, the IPR dimension, and gender balance. So in your proposal, you will be required to define for each specific objectives of the project the appropriate indicators. This for measuring achievements, so including a unit of measurement, a baseline value, and a target value. Next slide, please. So to be admissible, a proposal must include the following parts, which are all mandatory. So there is an applicant form, which is composed of three parts. A part A, with administrative information about the participant and also a summarized budget. This to fill in online through the EU Funding and Tenders Portal electronic submission system, like all the rest, of course, of the application. You have also a part B in the application form, which will be the technical narrative description of the project with a maximum 70 pages. And for this, a template is available in the system to be downloaded, filled in, and then uploaded in PDF. You have also a part C, where you have to encode additional project data about the TRL, the innovation times, the net level, etc., to fill in online. And the application has two mandatory annexes, a detailed budget table, which was simplified, but that's why it's called consolidated table in each course, but this is this detailed budget table. And also a self-declaration only from the coordinator to confirm the alignments with the national, regional, and strict policies, strategies, and priorities of all the member states and regions represented by organizations participating in this application. For each annex, template is also available, again, to download, to fill in, and to upload in the system. And the template for the self-declaration is called the S3 Compliance Declaration. Next slide. In your proposal, you will mention in its technical part some deliverables, which are the outputs that will show the progress of a project after its start. And each course required to add the following mandatory deliverables. So here is a list, but there is an annual report on the engagement with the managing authorities of the ERDF programs and the authorities responsible for S3 in the region represented in the consortium, a data management plan, a full dissemination and exploitation plan, a yearly report for cumulative payments for the projects with more than 5 million euro requested as EU contributions, a business investment plan, a report on the implementation of the business investments belonging to the portfolio, the assessment of the innovation readiness at the end of the project at technology, market, or investment readiness level, and a list of remaining bottlenecks. Next, please. So each strand has its own budget. So it's 20.2 million euro for strand 1 and 30.2 million euro for strand 2A. A project budget normally ranges between 2 and 10 million. Its indicated duration is between 18 and 36 million. And the co-funding rate is up to 70% of the eligible cost, except for the FSTP cost category, which is 100%. As you can see, as mentioned also, there's a new threshold, but this, I will let my colleagues talk more about this later. Next slide, please. The call also explained the payment arrangements. So there will be one pre-financing as an advance of 70% of the grant amount to be paid after the grant signature. There will be one interim payment and the payment of the balance at the end of the project. And all payments will be made to the coordinator. Next slide, please. So on this indicated timeline, you can see that the calls which are open will close on the 12th November 26 at 17 hours Central European Time, Brussels time. The evaluation of the proposal submitted is planned between November 26 and April 27, with the expected evaluation results available in May 27, the expected grant signature in July 27, and the start of the projects in autumn, so in the fourth quarter of 27. Thank you for your attention.
So next slide.
Yes, thank you, Katerina. Go ahead.
So hello and good morning, everybody. So I'm Caterina Verde, project advisor also in ESMEA, and I have been working with Pascal for indeed the drafting of this call. So please, next slide. So I'm going to repeat you as already has been mentioned by my colleagues. So I thanks indeed Tomislav and Pascal for highlighting the difference of the two calls. Is although both strands support interregional innovation investment, they respond and it should be very clear to two different strategic needs. Indeed, in Strand 1, we focus on strengthening and scale up existing European value chains in shared smart specialization areas, while in Strand 2A, the emphasis is on the cohesion approach, so by creating new value chains in less developed regions. In practices in Strand 2A, we try to connect innovation stakeholders across the Europe. And next slide, please. At the same time, as you see, our calls are with starting TRL 6 up to 9. So the both are focused on mature innovation close to the market, but with a different dynamics, because instead one is more focused on and centered on scaling and commercialization of innovation at European level, while in Strand 2A, the focus is more on adapting and deploying innovation in a regional ecosystem where it's still missing. But ultimately, both are all both concentrated on competitiveness and boost the European competitiveness. What I would like to highlight you is also that the difference of the two calls and the two strands, sorry, are listed in a table that are present at the end of each call documents. So if you have any doubts, in addition to read the both documents, you will find in each document this table where it's highlighted the difference of the two strands. Now, next slide, please. So which are the main novelties that we have included, and we have indeed included in these new calls? One major evolution is the stronger policy position of the I3 instrument, with the new calls are indeed explicitly connected to the Europe competitiveness, resilience, and industrial transformation agenda, guided indeed by the competitiveness compass framework. In addition, we have the intermediary organization, so more emphasis on the role of the clustered innovation agencies and universities that are recognized in these calls as key ecosystem builders. And then the de-risking and the investment readiness. So there is also a greater focus on investment readiness and what happened after the project ends. So the sustainability of the project beyond the funding, the EU funding. Next slide. Now, about the three thematic priorities that were presented, highlighted by Pascal previously. So in each call, you see that we have three thematics: green transition, smart manufacturing, and digital transition. In these two calls, we try to highlight a kind of SWIFT. That goes from in green transition, sorry, green transition from climate challenge as opportunity to deployment of innovation solution for industrial resilience and energy efficiency. In smart manufacturing, we have a focus on scaling industrial transformation through pilot lines and test beds. And in digital transition, we switched from digital growth to deployment and scale up of digital technologies to strengthen the European competitiveness. With a special focus on cybersecurity, resilience, and reducing the digital divide. So next slide, please. Then, what is also new is a revised award criteria. We try to provide a more clear framework with this redesign, indeed, a framework of the criteria. There is a strong emphasis on the long term, so on the impact. That's why we rebalanced the scoring system, putting 10 points on impact and 5 points on relevance. This is indeed for giving stronger focus on benefits for regional ecosystem value chain, and always prioritizing the project delivering on long-term impacts. The idea of revise the award criteria is indeed to provide a clear guidance for applicants that indeed in drafting their proposals, and obviously to provide a more transparent and comprehensive scenario for the evaluation framework. So next slide. So indeed, you will see that all the pages in both text call dedicated to award criteria has been structured in the four criteria that relevance, quality, cost effectiveness, and impact, and in sub criterion. So in each one of them, we try to provide a more guiding structure on to the evaluators, as I said, and to you applicants. So in relevance, we have highlighted the interregional dimension, innovation dimension, investment dimension as sub-criterion. In quality, the methodology and technical quality, quality and composition of the consortium, feasibility and risk management. While in cost effectiveness, we focus on appropriativeness, allocation of the resources, and then when it's needed, subcontracting and FSTP, if it's indeed foreseen. In impact, the long-term impact, targeted group and stakeholders, economic, social, and impacts, and the replication and sustainability of the project. This is very important point of these calls. So as you see, I told you that has been also reshuffled on the points with impacts 10, maximum 10, and in relevance maximum 5, as well as quality and cost effectiveness. So the minimum to be awarded is 17.5, and then the maximum that you can reach in your proposal and the evaluation is 25. So please, can you, next slide. Now, already has been mentioned several times during this call, but because we are very proud of this, and as Wolfgang also highlighted in his introduction and welcoming point, it's a huge milestone for us that we have achieved to finally replace the detailed budget table, at least in this during the proposal and the gap preparation. So you are called to present a lighter budget table that does not request any more detailed shift for partners and work packages. And as well as this is, as I told you, applied during the gap stage and the application stage. Obviously, the detailed budget table, so obligation, will remain during the mid and final term reporting. So then next slide. As well as another novelties is the, and also this has been quite challenging to achieve, has been the higher FTP threshold for SMEs. So we moved from 60,000 to 100,000. Obviously, we would like to increase the critical mass of the sub-granted project, and to allow them indeed to have and to achieve greater results and make more sustainable and scaling impacts. Because indeed this remain the main aspect of the I3 investment actions. So support SMEs and startups. So please, next slide. Now, about the differences. What we would like now to, I would like to highlight you is to read strategically our goals. So firstly, which is the main difference of each Horizon Europe and I3 instrument approaches? As you know, in I3 instrument approach, we are going to a market deployment scale up, mature innovation TRL, there is the interregional value chain dimension, the cohesion dimension, the investment focuses, the smart specialization strategies that should be taken into account, a strong SMEs participation, concrete investment into companies with special focus to SMEs, and cross-border value chain. While on the left side of the slide, you see that the Horizon Europe approach. So we are focused on early stage innovation, project related to innovation, and research focus. And then we are talking about stand-alone project, not real creating value chain or supporting value chain. Please, next slide. Now, indeed, in reading the call strategically, here I have listed on the left side, so in the first column, which are the priority calls, so which are the main documents that you have always taken into account before drafting a proposal. So the annotated model grant agreement, the proposal template, obviously the two call text, financing decision for all the elements related to the financial aspect. But I would like also to highlight you some important reminders. So do not repeat only the call text. This is not needed in your proposal. Try to be concrete. Try to explain your ideas concretely. Try to have well design in your mind the difference of the two strands and which are the different objectives that were presented by also Pascal previously and are listed in the two call text. Then it's very important that you are look for the right partners. So this can be done through many tools, because there is one available in funding tender portal, and then there is also the novelty just been introduced in the I3 support facility, the partner search platform, as well as you can use also other tools like the Enterprise Europe Network. Check the region status. So there is a list here, there is the link that you can open to see which is the NUTS level of the regions of the consortium that you are composed. I would like to highlight also that in the I3 support facility partner research platform, is it possible to also select to filter the regions and the nature of the company, so that is involved, if it's public, private, and so on. And then to not forget that in the I3 instrument proposal should have the portfolio approach, has been highlighted several times during this presentation. So please pay attention to the cohesion dimension, so the more developed, transition, and less developed regions, the interregional innovation logic, the KPIs that are listed and present in each call text, the sustainability, the replicability of the project at the end, the investment readiness, and the scale up pathway. As I told you also, these calls are very aligned with the current European landscape regulatory indeed that is ongoing. So the competitiveness compass, the clean industrial deal, single market strategy, startup and scale up strategy, as well as, of course, the European Innovation Act. This is for telling you that you need also to have a kind of clear idea on where the European Union is going also in terms of policy in drafting your proposal. As well as there are several websites that you can consult, like obviously our website, the I3 support instrument, the I3 support facility, of course, that is available online, as well as the smart specialization community of practices or the thematic platform and S3 thematic platform and partnership. Next slide, please. Now, think about an evaluator. Another important tips that we will try to give you is indeed, in drafting your proposal, you have to have clear in your mind that your proposal is going to be evaluated by external evaluators, obviously people that are involved, experts that are involved in your sector, in the sector of the proposal that is being presented. By try to help the evaluators, so be concise and clear, provide a logical structure to your proposal, try to provide a realistic implementation plan, try to use a readable chart and visuals, obviously helping you with also glossary, which is to present a clear investment pathway in your proposal, and try to avoid some part that maybe some part that maybe can make your proposal more weaker. So like excessive abbreviation, unrealistic ambitions, unclear partner roles. This is also a very important point that you have to take into account, that build a big consortium does make your proposal stronger than one that has less partners but more concrete with clear partner roles. And obviously I would like also to highlight that some technical reminders. Obviously you have the maximum 70 pages. Respect margins, do not delete the templates instruction, and try to upload, so be very clear in what you upload at the end of the submission of your proposal, so all the mandatory annexes. And then next slide, please. So those are very general final tips that I would like to remind you, so that you can find answers to your questions in addition to the session that we have at the end of this presentation through the Founding and Tender portal. In addition, very shortly will be published and really appropriate question and answer documents that will be topic related to these calls. Then you will find online all the online manual, how to sections, and you can submit your question to the portal via the IT help desk, as well as no IT questions can be submitted to our functional mailbox that I read for you is I3 instrument calls at ec.europa.eu. And obviously, do not forget to consult our I3 instrument website. Next slide. I think this was so yes, another last really 1 minute, I will present the I3 support facility. So as you see, this is there are different aspects that has been also presented by my colleagues previously. So the I3 support facility is a kind of an additional instrument to support you in drafting your proposal, in supporting the implementation of your project, and in generally speaking to really support the I3 community. So the I3 support facility is composed of several elements and indeed tools that you can reach. So like the I3 instrument observatory, we have a dedicated page to description of all the I3 project ongoing right now. and monthly virtual events that are available anyway at any time. In case you have missed one of them, the registration, the presentation are always available online in our webpage. DI3 policy discussion groups that indeed they are for supporting valuable recommendation and implementing as DI3 community, a database of good practices, and then there are plenty of articles and publications. So you can find everything in our website, DI3 support facility website. Next slide. Next slide, please. And what I would like just to highlight you is two important events that are upcoming related to the support facility, meaning the 8th of July, the online matchmaking events. We have indeed, as I told you, just created, has been launched at the beginning of this year, this partner search tool, where there are several opportunities for finding the right partner for your proposal. And then in October, end of September, and sorry, 1st of October, we have the I3 annual forum, which is a big event. So the registration are already open online. So please do not hesitate to register yourself and to attend. It will take place in Brussels. With the previous day, the 30th of September, that is dedicated only to DI3 coordinators. So, but the 1st of October is open to everybody. And then I think now it's really all from my side. So I leave the floor to Eric. Do not forget to submit, obviously, your questions. Thanks a lot. Eric, you are muted, I think so.
Indeed. Many thanks, Katharina and Pascal, for this core part of the Info Day. And Katharina mentioned it already. We have already quite a number of questions and answers that we are, well, not the questions, the answers will come later. And we can continue to submit them through www.slido.com. And then here, I3 Instrument. We will not be able to answer all of them, but we can reassure you that, and this I repeat from earlier, what I said, that we will share in the Q&A document on the call page on the Funding and Tenders portal. We'll share further answers in the coming days and weeks. Okay, then I think we can come to the next session, and this is now a practical session, explanation of an ongoing project presented by Kirill Dimanopoulos, and I have the pleasure to introduce him now and to hand over to him.
Thank you very much, Eric, and good morning, everybody. Basically, I will present one of my running projects, IT Forest. It's a Strand 2A project, so you will see all the characteristics which were presented by my colleagues previously on how a good Strand 2A project should be set up. This project is about forest management, and more concretely, it's about combining advanced technology with extended forestry expertise through the cooperation of more developed, less developed, and transitional region. We can go to the next slide. So you can see here that the project includes 13 regions from 10 countries. And basically what is very important in this setup is that the project operates with several forest test beds. So demonstration is done through real time and real forest circumstances. We can go to the next slide. So what is the key innovation of IT Forest project is that forestry management within the framework of the project is approached and managed in a holistic way. So the project offers solutions for the prevention, the intervention, and the restoration, valorization. How it is done? There are 4 key innovations within the framework of the project. First, the advanced remote sensing and data analytic system for early warning. Then the different innovative fire suppression technologies testing. Then the AI-powered decision support system. and finally, the forest restoration and reforestation techniques. We can go to the next slide. Now, prevention part is done by a technology which is called Sebelo. This is a new kind of AI-powered sensor system which detects wildfire even before smoke appears and sends alerts instantly. Nevertheless, it is a very advanced technology, as there is no need for cameras or wires or anything else. In the project, in the IT Forest project, not only this first sensor is going to be developed, but also another two elements which will make this system complete. We can go to the next slide, please. And then the fire extinguishing system, or the, let's say, the tackling of wildfires with a more effective fire extinguishing agent, which is called BOMPET. This is an agent which has been a technology which has been developed in Slovenia by the Slovenian partner of the partnership. And as it was said by the colleagues before, here we are making the demonstration phase of this technology, and it can go up to commercialization and scale up. So the project very cleverly follows the logic of I3 and Strand 2A. I had the pleasure to participate in this test bed last week in Attica at the marble quarries of Dionysios Pendelis. And I can tell you that it was really, really, really impressive how much faster and more effectively BOMPET tackled wildfires. And nevertheless, this test bed was combined also with Sebelo. So meanwhile, the fire fighters using BOMPET and traditional water, Sebelo system was sending the warnings already to our mobile phones. And nevertheless, during this test bed, also the civil protection units of the city of Athens were there, and also the suburbs of Athens. So the whole ecosystem was there and was witnessing how effective this demonstration was. We can go to the next slide, please. And the solution, so the, let's say, the restoration program. This is an upcoming feature of the project, as we are just in the middle. But it's really promising, as you can see on this slide, that the project offers a kind of a holistic approach in the restoration of forest affected by wildfires. And this restoration is not, let's say, limited to the fire itself, but as you can see, the project also tackles the whole ecological ecosystem of the forests, the tree phenology, also the forest species, and also any damage caused by different insects and parasites during and after the wildfires. We can go to the next slide, please. Here, still, let's say, in the tackling of wildfires, one big milestone which has already been achieved by the project is the Concord Emergency Management Platform. Just like the Sebelo system, Concord is also powered by AI. And it is an already operational system which has 6 core modules: the field triage, incident command, drone fleet, data lake, AI predictions, and geofencing. So when an incident is happening, this system is analyzing it very fastly and offers the best decisions to be done and interlinks the different services to make the intervention as effective and as fast as it's possible. We can go to the next slide, please. And here you can see how Concord system is working in real time. So the first step is detect and comment. Then the second is dispatching and coordinating. The third step is triage and patient tracking, very important. Then the fourth step is predict and optimize. And the final step is expanding the awareness. Of course, all this is happening very, very fast and very effectively. And once the project is going to be finalized, all these different phases and sections of the forestry management technologies and warning systems are going to be interlinked and going to be powered by an interregional value chain, which is coming from Lithuania through Slovenia and France to Greece and Spain. And this is really the logic of knowledge transfer between differently developed regions and the value chain logic to be set up in less developed regions to tackle a really existing problem in an ecosystem approach. And that was it from my side. I hope it was not very boring. It's a little bit different from the technical part of the call, but I hope it will be useful for your project development phase. Thank you very much.
Many thanks, Kirill. And you also, I think, could have mentioned that you recently were at a demonstration where you were actually witnessing the fire extinguishing, and it was quite impressive, no? What you saw.
Exactly, I mentioned it actually, and yes,
Okay.
yeah, that was done last week in Athens, and even the very popular TV channel of Greece, Star Channel, was making a 10 minutes report on that. So I think this is also a good example of disseminating information about I3 projects.
Indeed,
Yeah.
indeed.
Thank
Many
you.
thanks for this, Kirill. And a reminder here, once again, to submit your questions. We have a tremendous number of incoming questions now. I'm repeating here, we will not be able to answer all of them today, and but we'll reassure you we will analyze all of them, and if they are not yet addressed in our Q&A document that will be published in the next days and weeks on the funding and tenders call page, then you will see them there. And now I would like to hand over to the next speakers from the colleagues from the financial sector and ISMEA, Jana Dobiazova and Anna Batra, to talk about the new budget table, the simplified budget table. So the colleagues had to revamp their slides from last year. Many thanks for this. I'm handing over to you. I don't know who starts. I think Jana starts. And yeah, thank you.
No, actually, it will be me. Good morning, everyone. My name is Anna Batra. So in this presentation, we will explain how to prepare your detailed budget table. As usual, from financial perspective, we will have to present two documents which are a mandatory part of your proposal. These are the estimated budget table, which is filled in directly online, and then the detailed budget table, a template, normally in Excel, which you have to fill in and upload in allowed format, which is normally a PDF. First, we advise you to prepare your detailed budget table. This is the template from part B, and then finalize the estimated budget table from part A. The reason is that the amounts entered in both tables must be coherent, but in case, of course, there are any discrepancies, the amounts of the online estimated budget table will prevail. Next slide, please. As our colleagues have mentioned already, as of this call, we will be using a more simplified detailed budget table. Therefore, there are a bit changed instructions, in this case, how to prepare it for you. You will have to present one consolidated detailed budget table for the entire consortium. Please read carefully the call document, which cost categories are eligible to this call, and there should be no budget or no costs entered in cells related to the cost categories which are of course not eligible. You will have the possibility in this detailed budget table to add rows, but you cannot add additional tabs because this may result in inadmissibility of your proposal or budget. You must ensure that the file can be printed in a format which is 1 page wide. Of course, as explained in my previous slide, the figures in this table will have to be consistent with the total budget in estimated budget table. And of course, in the detailed table, you should use, or it should contain only eligible costs, which are based, of course, on detailed, reasonable, and accurate estimates. So at this point, we are working with estimates. Next slide, please. So the detailed budget, both the detailed budget table and the estimated budget table have to be in principle in balance. This means that the project cost must be equal to project income. In the second part of this presentation, we will go in more details regarding the project cost, but also the project income. And next slide, please. Starting with the personal costs, there is a new element in the detailed budget table, which is called staff effort allocation table. This was not there previously. So here you will need to present the efforts per work package per beneficiary or affiliated entity in case you have any. And in principle, it displays the overview of number of person months over the whole duration of the planned work. As you can see, you will be able to adapt the columns to the number of the work packages for your proposal. And we would like to ask you to mark figures in bold for each work package leader in the work package, in the specific work package. Next slide, please. Now, more concretely to the specific cost categories. So for personal cost, you can have the following 4 subcategories. These are usually, as usual, the employees. The costs are eligible if they fulfill, of course, the general eligibility conditions. They must be related to the personnel working for the beneficiary under employment contract, but it can also be an appointing act in case of civil servants, for example, and they must be assigned to the action. Normally, at the proposal preparation, grant agreement preparation, here you have to think about the perspective of monthly rates, but then at reporting stage, if your proposal is selected and the project implemented, you will have to report daily rates. So this is just a little reminder. Then A2 and A3 personnel, these are natural persons working either under direct contract other than employment contract, and these can be civil, freelance, or expert contracts. They are eligible if they fulfill the general and specific eligibility conditions, which are listed on the slide, so you can go through them and check. And also the seconded persons are eligible if they are transferred by a third party against payment, and they are assigned to the action and fulfill the general eligibility conditions. These all 3 subcategories are budgeted as cost actually incurred. Next slide, please. The last subcategory in personal cost are the SME owners and natural persons who do not receive salary. You have to keep in mind that the SME owners are eligible only if they are direct owners or co-owners of the SME. They are beneficiary to the action and they must be declared in the portal as SME. In this case, it also applies to natural person beneficiaries who do not receive a salary. And in principle, the remuneration can be via non-employment contract, which is, for example, service contract, profit distribution, or any other remuneration method, which is not kind of salary received based on the employment contract. Here, the SME owners have to be budgeted as or using a unit cost, which is a daily rate fixed by the Commission decision. and the number of the equivalents work on the action. You will see there are two links which are accessible in the presentation directly, so you will be able to see the rates which are kind of defined per country where the SME is registered. And a little reminder that the horizontal ceiling is for EU grants is always 215 days per year. This is with the aim to avoid the double funding of personal costs. Next slide. And this is how it will look like in your detailed budget table. So you will use, you will fill in this kind of table, which is again, per beneficiary, you will have to provide the country and number of person months covering the entire project duration. Then please take note that the employees, natural persons, and seconded personnel costs, as they are actual costs, they will have to be presented separately. And then A4, the SME owners in another column. The table will automatically then calculate the total personal costs and the average monthly salary rate, which we will be checking normally as an assessment. And again, don't forget SME owners are defined unit rates, which you have to take into account in your estimation of the costs. Okay, so this is the last slide for my part. Now I will invite Jana, my colleague, to continue with the second part of the presentation.
Good morning. So next slide, please. Good morning, so I'm Jana Debiasho. I'm also financial officer in ESMA, and I will continue with the remaining cost categories that are applicable to these two calls. And I will start with the subcontracting costs. So subcontracting costs are basically purchases of goods, works, and services that are related to the implementation of specific tasks, which are part of the action, and as described in the description of the action. You need to know that only a limited part of the action can be subcontracted. So, for example, no core tasks of the coordinator or project management tasks of the coordinator, these cannot be subcontracted. In the simplified detailed budget table, you will fill in the concerned partner, the description of the planned subcontract, then the foreseen cost, as well as a short justification. You need to know that you will also need to provide subcontracting details in part A. And so, actually, this is narrative part B, but there are two different places. So there's the detailed budget table, and then there's the narrative part B, where you need to provide details on subcontracting. It would be good if you basically copy the same details. You don't have to invent each time a different description. And you also need to know that any subcontracting that is going beyond 30% of the total eligible costs of the project must be justified in the application, and we will be requesting this in case you don't provide it. Next slide, please. When it comes to other direct costs, so these are purchases that are specific for the implementation of the action, and we count here travel costs, equipment costs, other goods, works, and services, and financial support to third parties. You will see that you will need to fill in a table per participant, and additional tables can be added depending on the number of beneficiaries in your project. It would be good if you kept in mind that, okay, there's a justification column, and particularly for major cost items, we would ask you to provide some sort of detailed breakdown or indicate the work package, for example, that this amount or this cost item relates to. What we mean here is, for example, if you are purchasing equipment for 500,000, we would definitely be asking you details. So it is in your advantage if you provide the details already in the proposal stage. As I said, there's also financial support to third parties that is covered in other direct costs. These are budgeted and then reported also as actual costs, and as will be detailed by my colleague Virginie, then the maximum amount for each recipient of financial support to third parties is 100,000 euro. Next slide, please. As I said, we also count here travel accommodation and subsistence. And even though in the simplified detail budget table, we are not asking you real details, but mainly the total amount, you need to know that it would be very good if you familiarize yourself with the Commission decision on unit cost for travel, because you will be, if your project is selected eventually, reimbursed based on this Commission decision. So we really encourage you to already budget in your proposal with these unit costs in mind. You need to know that for travel, these calculations are made on the basis of the distance between the departure, which typically would be the place of employment, and arrival point. So for example, from Brussels to Madrid. And there's a flight calculator that is linked to the presentation that is available for you to determine the exact distance band that will be applicable to your travel. And even though you're calculating this distance band one way, you need to know that the unit cost covers a return trip. So you do not multiply when you are budgeting for travel costs. Then when it comes to accommodation, there 1 unit is 1 night. And for subsistence, we are talking about a 24-hour period as 1 unit. And again, for accommodation and subsistence as well, there are rates that are fixed for each country in the Commission decision, and also available in Annex 2A to the grant agreement. As I said, these are mainly budgeted as unit cost. There are some exceptions, however, where you could budget them as actual costs, and that's particularly for either travels that are below 50 kilometers or for certain countries that are again specified in the Commission decision. Next slide, please. So when it comes to equipment costs, these are purchases that must be budgeted as depreciation costs for these calls, and they are calculated on the basis of the costs that would actually be incurred and written off in accordance with the international accounting standards or your usual accounting practices. You need to know that only the portion of the cost that corresponds to the rate of actual use of this equipment for the action during the action duration can be taken into account. So if, for example, your project is 36 months and you are depreciating equipment for 60 months, you can only declare 36 months as maximum. You should also know that costs for renting or leasing of equipment are eligible if they do not exceed the depreciation costs of similar equipment and do not include any financing fees. Again, I would encourage you, if you are planning for renting or leasing, or if, for example, on the equipment line, you're planning to mix purchase and renting and leasing, it would be good to specify in the justification column a little bit that there is a distinction and there are different amounts that apply to the different ways of obtaining the equipment. An important note is that computers, softwares, or let's say other office equipment, so these purchases are only accepted if they are really necessary to implement very specific, very technical tasks and have to be duly justified. This is important for your budgeting, as we may not see all the details, because normally office equipment is covered by indirect cost category and cannot be budgeted or declared as direct costs, as I said, unless duly justified. So if you have questions regarding this, then we would be available, of course, to advise. Then when we go to other goods, works, and services, so these are purchases of goods, works, and services that must be calculated on the basis of costs that would actually be incurred. These are always direct costs, and your usual procurement principles apply to these purchases. And they need to be purchased specifically for the implementation of the action. Next slide, please. You will see that indirect costs are not a part of the simplified detail budget table. However, they are part of the budget, so it is important for you to know. that there is another cost category. Basically, these are costs that are not directly linked to the action implementation, and they are not attributed directly to it. So as I mentioned before, this could be computers, stationery, for example, office rent, and similar. As I said, these are not part of the breakdown, so you don't need to provide any details regarding it. These costs, they will be calculated and reimbursed automatically at a flat rate of 7% of the eligible direct costs. You just need to keep in mind that they can never basically lead to double funding, so you cannot budget or declare eventually costs that would be budgeted or declared in this cost category and declare them as direct costs. So as I said, these are the overheads, running or operating costs, and you should keep in mind that computers, stationery, etc., are covered in this cost category, so not to be budgeted. Project income similarly is part of the budget, even though not covered in the detailed budget table, and so what is included in project income is the EU contribution, and in case of these calls, as mentioned by Pascal before, the co-financing rate is 100% for financial support to third parties and 70% for the other cost categories. We also count here revenues and contributions by third parties and your own resources. So any other resources that you use to cover the cost of the project. Next slide, please. On the last slide, we just wanted to remind you of some common mistakes to avoid in the financial data. So it is important to keep in mind that we are filling in financial data in different places, in the online application and manually in the detailed budget table, but also in the narrative part. So it is important to avoid discrepancies in the budgeted amounts or discrepancies in the person months that you budget or that you are planning for, the discrepancies in subcontracting, etc., because otherwise we would have to come back to you. As I said, we encourage you to familiarize yourself with the decision on unit cost for travel so that you can actually realistically budget for travel costs in your proposal. Also in the online estimated budget, please always split between travel, accommodation, and subsistence. Very often we see these combined in one amount. And for any beneficiaries that would reach the requested EU contribution of 325,000, they would also need to budget for certificate on financial statements, which is basically audit fees. So you would have to have an external audit, and these costs are eligible, so you can budget for these under other goods, works, and services. That's it from me. So thank you for your attention and good luck with your proposals.
Many thanks, Jana and Anna, for these interesting slides that are indeed a novelty for all of us, because we implemented this new simplified budget table, and we hope that applicants will enjoy using these easier tables for the application. A reminder here, once again, for the Slido session, we have a tremendous number of questions. And once again, I repeat, we will not be able to answer all of them, but we will get back through the publication of the first version or the first versions of the Q&A document. And it will be published on the Funding Attendance portal. And now we're coming to the last part of the content-related part of the info day, and that is now with Virginie Perron from my team that will explain the details of the financial support to third parties, FSTP, which is used by some of the applications, not all of them, of course, because it's not an obligation. So Virginie, you have the floor. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Eric. Yes, I have the privilege to present you the last 15 slides of this session about financial support to third party, which is, as you've understood, also called FSTP or cascade funding. So what is it? So FSTP is a funding mechanism implemented by the grant beneficiaries to select recipients that are not part of the grant agreement. So if we go on the next slide, we will see that there is a legal basis, of course, for FSTP, which is Article 207 of the financial regulations. But to be applicable, FSTP has also to be envisaged in the work program or the calls. So it's not systematic in all calls that there would be FSTP. So if we go on the next slide, we will see that indeed, on the next slide, doesn't change. Yeah, okay. So it's indeed envisaged in the investment calls of I3, but always to keep in mind that the I3 projects are mainly implemented by the consortium partners. So the applicants of the I3 projects still have the possibility to include FSTP. But as Eric just said, it's not compulsory. So just to remind all of you that indeed in I3, FSTP is only possible in the investment calls, investment 1 and 2A, but not under the CAP 2B calls. So in the next slide, we will see what the specific rules for I3 calls and FSTP are. So as it was mentioned before, yes, the funding rate of FSTP is 100%, contrary to the other cost categories where it's 70%. So since the calls of last year, now SMEs from all EU regions can apply, but still it's limited to EU regions, because I saw questions about other countries in Slido. So only SMEs from all EU regions can apply and benefit from cascade funding. Of course, the consortium partners that already receive a grant, they cannot, in addition, be beneficiary of FSTP. FSTP is only allowed if it's based on the publication of one or more open calls by the I3 projects. The FSTP can only be distributed in the forms of grants, so not prizes. So what is new from this year is that indeed we increased the maximum amount that a third party can get, and we increased it to 100,000 euros. But still the limit of 30% remains, meaning that FSTP cannot represent more than 30% of the project total eligible costs. So in the next slides, we will see how it can be used in I3. So FSTP should only be used to support SMEs that are able to deliver tasks with an added value to the project. And it should really be instrumental and to complement the value chain of the main investors. The good thing with FSTP is actually that it allows you to select SMEs after the project started, because you had not identified these SMEs to join the consortium before, but also to select these SMEs that will be able to carry out tasks that are missing in the consortium and that are necessary to complement what the main investors in the consortium are doing. So basically, the portfolio of investments in an I3 project is implemented by SMEs, members of the consortium, and possibly FSTP SMEs. So in the next slide, we will see how much FSTP can represent and how it can be structured and so on. So as already said, the maximum is 100,000 euros per third party, but you can well envisage in the call text that you will publish to go for different smaller amounts, that an SME can get maximum. It will always depend on the activities that will have to be financed with the FSTP. So maybe for some testing activities, maybe would not request 100,000 euros. So it will be up to you to design the FSTP call. And what you can also do, you can also encourage groups of SMEs to apply to FSTP, so kind of collaborative interregional projects from different regions and so on. And in that case, the maximum the maximum amount that can be allocated for a group of SMEs will be the number of depend on the number of SMEs to be part of this group. So it's 100K per SME. If you go for projects of two SMEs, it could be 200K maximum, but you can also say, even if there are 2 or 3 SMEs to apply together, that you would set the maximum to 150K, for instance. It always depends, as I said, to the types of activities and the scale of the work to be carried out. So talking about percentages, so if you have read the call text, you know that there are several percentages not to be exceeded or to be exceeded. It depends in the situations in the call text. So as I already said, that maximum 30% of the total, that the FSTP budget cannot represent more than 30% of the total eligible cost of the project. But also keep in mind that the FSTP will contribute to the requirement that at least 70% of the total eligible cost must be allocated to investment in companies and especially SMEs, and also that the minimum 50% of the total eligible cost of the project should be incurred in less developed regions. So FSTP SMEs that are going to develop sub-projects in less developed regions will contribute to achieving these requirements. So in the next slide, yes, I would just like to give you some points to keep in mind when designing an FSTP scheme. So first, it should be based on the needs of the main investors. On the needs of the value chains that you would have selected. You should also consider the interactions between the needs of the main investors with the solutions that the cascading companies could offer. You should also consider the interconnection between the innovative products, processes, and solutions developed in the project and the exploitation of these solutions by the third-party SMEs. And also it seems really important, it's really important that the FSTP budget, that it should be spent for the benefit of the companies involved in the consortium. So we would expect that the specification of the FSTP call would be defined by the main investors, the SMEs in the consortium, of course, with the support of intermediaries that could be part of the consortium, like clusters, RTOs, etc. But in any case, in the proposal, if you will use FSTP, you will have to justify why you will use FSTP. So in the next slide, I would like to give you some examples. I also saw questions about that in Slido, so hopefully now it will be a bit more concrete. So what can be financed with FSTP, for instance, is to testing activities, to optimize products, productions, processes, or solutions. FSTP can also be used to explore new processing technologies. It can be used, and it's often used for product validation, for piloting activities in companies, and also to exploit for exploitation purposes, to exploit the investment, the solutions that would have been implemented by the main beneficiaries. And also, of course, it can be used for market replication. But on the other side of this of the slide, you see what is not allowed with FSTP. So FSTP cannot be used to finance travel vouchers, to finance registration fees to an event, I don't know, vouchers for study visits, fellowships cannot be used to award prizes, and so on. So okay, so you see what is possible, what is not possible with FSTP. So now if we go to the next slide, these are the conditions for providing FSTP in I3 projects. So as I said, so in the proposal that you will draft, you should clearly specify why FSTP is needed in the project, how it will be managed, the results that you intend to obtain with FSTP, and the list of the different types of activities for which a third party could receive the financial support. So I would just like to stress that we are all were aware that at the time you draft the proposal, you cannot have the full details on all these conditions, because as I also said before, the FSTP schemes usually are finalized and drafted after the start of the project, when the main investments are well advanced. But we need to see in the proposal your intentions about all that. So if you would just write in the proposal, we will have FSTP with a budget of 2 million euros, then for us, it won't be enough. You must have thought a bit more about what activities, results, and so on. So if we go to the next slide, yes, these are a continuation of the conditions. So, so as I said, there should be open calls to be published widely. So should be published on the participants' websites, on the funding and tender portal, and these calls should conform to EU standards concerning transparency, equal treatment, conflict of interest, and confidentiality. They should remain open for at least 2 months. The outcome of the call should also be published on the participants' website with a description of the sub-projects to be funded, duration, name of the recipients, and so on. And always very important, FSTP calls should always have a clear European dimension. So on the next slide, we will now see, I will come back a bit on Article 6 of the grant agreement. So this is the grant agreement, that part of the grant agreement that will sign the projects that will be selected for funding. So there is a dedicated article detailing the conditions for the FSTP. So as I've already mentioned some of them 2 slides ago, but just that if your proposal is selected for funding during the grant agreement preparation and then later during implementation, you will have to be very clear on all these 5 conditions. So the first condition for FSTP to be eligible is that the maximum amount of the financial support that each third party can receive should be clear. So as I said, 100,000 euros per SME. It could depend if you go for groups, for a consortium of SME to apply. It could depend on the types of activities to be funded. So the different types of activities that would qualify for funding is one of these 5 conditions of Article 6. Then you should also you will also have to define the criteria for calculating the exact amount. So you can go for lump sums to pay the SMEs, or for actual costs, which will be more burdensome. You should also clarify the persons or categories of persons eligible for funding. So now we said that SMEs from all EU regions could be eligible, but of course you couldn't be more specific in the call text that you will draft, and then the criteria and procedures for giving the financial support. So this will have to be defined. I would say at a later stage. We don't expect now in the proposal to have all the criteria, the evaluation criteria, and so on. But still, bear in mind that at some point you will have to work on that. So in the next slide, I will mention, Article 9.4, just for you to be aware that recipients of financial support to third parties, they also have some obligations, regarding the European administration. So they will also have to comply with Articles 12 and yes, about conflict of interest, about ethics, about visibility, information, record keeping. It's very important to know that SMEs that will receive cascade funding, they may be audited as well. They may be audited by the Court of Auditor. Olaf could also exerce their rights towards them. So it's also important to bear that in mind. So in the next slide, I would like to summarize the process in a nutshell. So how does it work? So we will select I3 projects. We will give a grant to the I3 projects, and then the I3 consortium, they will have to publish open calls and to redistribute part of the grant. This is why it's called cascade. They will have to redistribute part of the grant to SMEs selected through one or more call for proposals. So the selection will have to be made based on transparent criteria, and the evaluation of the proposal will be done either by in-house by members of the I3 consortium or by independent experts. And then the selected recipients will have to sign a grant agreement. Important for you to know that all the payments to the third parties will have to be made before the end of the I3 project. So not with the payment of the balance of the grant, which can arrive 5 months after the end of the project. The beneficiaries, so the I3 projects that will go for FSTP, will be fully responsible for drafting the call text, the evaluation procedure, the selection, and to monitor the projects and make the payments. So the EISMEA project officer will just ensure compliance of the open call text with the provision of the grant agreement. So we will check the call, we will check your call text before it's published. So I would just like to say another few words about the process, because it's much lighter for an SME to apply for FSTP call than to be part of a full, a main EU project. First, because the application procedure is much lighter. Usually SMEs applying to a cascade funding call, they just have to submit one or two pages of application. Usually the main projects, they do the evaluation within 2 months. So it means that usually 3 months after the deadline, the SMEs, they can sign these grant agreements and receive the funding. And also the reporting for the FSTP companies is much lighter than when you are part of a consortium. You have to prepare all these reports, all these detailed budget tables. So this doesn't appear. It's much lighter, and it's much faster for an SME to access funding. So in the next slide, and this is my final slide. So it's just a screenshot of a page on the on the Funding and Tender portal, where you can find examples for inspiration of open calls published by other I3 projects and other projects as well. Thank you very much. Eric, back to you.
Thank you, Virginie. And well, I hope you enjoyed this, let's say, journey through the variety of what's in these investment calls. And now we are heading towards the interactive session of today, where you have an active role. And here's a reminder with the QR code And a reminder that you can use the slido.com website and then use this i3 instrument code to access the session. And I think, colleagues, we can kick it off, and would like to ask the colleagues that are, of course, here watching to be ready for the answering of the questions. I actually highlighted this first one because it's more related to, let's say, the timing and the upcoming timing. And the question here asks is when will you publish the approved projects from the last call? I mean, I guess you're referring to the 2025 investment call, or at least the ones that have already been invited to grant agreement signature. That would help indeed future applications. And I would like to come back to that quickly because indeed we are now working with 8 projects that have been main listed, as we call it, meaning that have been selected for funding. We are in grant agreement preparation stage, and we expect to finalize those grant agreements by July, August. I cannot say more because it depends on the progress in those 8 cases. But so by the summertime, you would have access to the information. Because why? Because once the grant agreement is signed, then the project summary and details will appear on the EU funding and tenders portal in the project section, where you can currently find 70 projects that we have financed that have been running or have been closed already. We have 45 running investment projects and 25 capacity building projects. So I would encourage all of you to have a look already now and not wait for July, August for the new projects, because the 45 plus 25 cases we have, including the one that Kirill in my team presented, are mentioned already on the funding and tenders portal. The next one we can take, colleagues, is just the one below on the investment areas. And I think, investment areas are listed as non-exhaustive in the call document. Can you give examples of sectors that evaluators have considered well aligned with the digital transition priority, despite not being listed? How to assess if the topic is aligned, if not listed? I would like to see whether Tomislav or Valentina are around to answer that question, a bit more sectorial.
I can answer this from the policy aspect. So not what evaluators think, but I think the key question here is not only is my sector listed, but the key question is in this case digital technology, but it can be any other technology, any other topic. Is this central to the investment project, to the investment case? Does it help deployment? Does it help scale up productivity, resilience, whatever the core of the project is? If digital is only a supporting tool, and then the alignment might be weaker. But if it's a core investment, definitely stronger. And I can also answer the second question on the screen. So this is on what is demonstrated in the regional value chain.
Okay, go ahead.
Yeah, I would say that basically what we all want to see here, that partners from different regions already have some concrete and complementary roles in the same industrial or whatever the value chain system is. So it's basically that this is not just some loose cooperation network just for the sake of applying to this call. That's it.
Indeed,
Thank you.
Indeed. Tomislav, would you like to continue with the one on digitization? Expected impact section mentions digitization and health systems.
Oh, yeah, that might be a tough question, but I wouldn't go into details. It says here that health doesn't appear among investment areas, but actually the answer is the same as I just gave. So it doesn't have to be written in the call text, but if it's important and vital to the project, of course, health topic is more than welcomed, and health-related digital investments as well.
Thank you. Yeah, let's go to the next one here in terms of popularity, colleagues. So the last year proposal, because there was another one that disappeared that was related. So last year, a proposal that was reserve listed, I guess this is the right word, 2 years earlier was resubmitted, addressing all negative feedback and adapting to the new call. Then it received lower score. How does the I3 program, I3 instrument program, ensure consistency in proposal evaluations over time? Okay, this is a good question, and it's difficult to answer because for those amongst you that have already made experience with the European Innovation Council, the EAC world, there the situation is even worse. Given the numbers, the sheer numbers of applications, and giving the rotation rules for external experts that we're using for the evaluation, it's practically impossible to do an individual follow-up and to make sure that a proposal, gets attention that has already been submitted and taking into account how shortcomings have been addressed. However, there are a few tricks I can give to you, obviously, and this is, for example, that we are internally, what we're doing is, because we have the luxury of having less applications than the EIC, although, as you have heard, numbers are increasing as well, which is quite challenging, is that we are trying to have, for resubmitted proposals, to put at least one of the 3 experts we use from the panel that did the first evaluation, so that there is some continuity. But there's no assurance, obviously, that this can be then taken into account. But of course, then we'll also share usually the evaluation summary report from the previous section, the evaluation with the 3 new evaluators. And then I would like also to mention that we encourage you to use the matchmaking tools that we have now through the different means. So we have, of course, the I3 support facility matchmaking tool that I think was shared earlier on with Katerina, that you can use. We do specific webinars for matchmaking. There is also the Funding Antennas Portal matchmaking tool. And then I think we have other opportunities, other events that take place in the regions, and I think also through the Smart Specialization Community of Practice. So I think if you team up with more experienced partners, then it will also improve your resubmission. So we can take perhaps the next one here from Fernando. So we are a Spanish public body coordinating Strand 1, and he asks whether subcontracting to a public company, in-house, national law here in Spain, eligible under the annotated grant agreement if explicitly identified in Annex 1. I think we have answered this type of questions in the past, and I think it was also mentioned in the previous Q&A document of last year that, of course, subcontracting is possible within the limits that are mentioned in the call document. However, we would encourage you, and usually we say that the subcontracting needs to follow the best value for money principle, meaning that ideally you should do an open call for services to the subcontractors, potential subcontractors, and then you choose the one that gives the best value for money. So if you pre-identify, it should be really clearly explained why this is best value for money in your situation. Then the next one, let's take the next popular. Okay, this I think we answered because about the resubmission challenge. We can go to the next one about the one with the 2B, the same consortia with the realized CAP2B capacity building Strand 2B project participate in a Strand 2A project, or should the consortium be bigger? We always say that, let's take the one that I see here on the second one. So we always say that the capacity building, obviously, the continuation towards an investment proposal is very much welcome. One of the core activities in the capacity building call is to pre-identify investment cases. And so you see the logical journey towards an investment call. And here indeed, so we can indeed say that that's indeed possible and welcome. And yeah, the consortium is usually bigger indeed for a Strand 2A or 1 investment project, because of the sheer magnitude and the challenges that are addressed through the investment cases. So that's indeed so then the one that is now highlighted, what additional mechanisms should be implemented to strengthen the investment readiness and post-project bankability of the pilots, particularly regarding private co-investment, exploitation pathways, and SME market uptake. I think that's the one for Valentina and my team, if she's there, or Tomislav, perhaps, if you wish. I don't know if either of them is available to answer this one. Otherwise, I will, for the moment, skip it because Tomislav, go ahead.
Yeah, either we can skip it, but in short, about the additional mechanisms, I can only say that we should see some evidence that there is a real market interest, realistic deployment potential, some pathways to follow up investments once the project is finalized. So there is a large section on the role of managing authorities that can also help this. They can also step in together with private co-investments. So there are different options.
Thank you, Tomislav. Shall we take the next one in terms of popularity? Yeah, that's the one indeed on the objectives. What does the business and investment plan refer to? The innovation done by the SMEs or the services provided by business support organizations? Well, I think we always said that the focus here are these small companies in the consortium. Those are the targeted companies. I mean, they can be the one doing the technologies or being the users or both. But indeed, so they are the business investment plans refer to those core companies in the consortium. That's very clear. But they can be producers or users, both. Then the next one: what kind of support do we need to secure from regional authorities? Well, I think. Well, I can answer the question, but perhaps we could also ask the call coordinators whether they would like to answer some of the questions. Katharina, Pascal, do you want to answer that one? Otherwise, I can also do it as you wish.
Please go ahead.
Okay. Well, there are two answers to this. I mean, there is obviously a political and support role in it. Why we're asking for an endorsement, not through a formal letter to from all the regions, but at least through a declaration from the coordinator that all the regions support the project. But also during the project, we would, and if you read the call document, there are some mandatory deliverables where we ask for an annual overview, a report on how the regional authorities are kept informed, how they support throughout the project. So that's the political answer, and then of course comes the financial answer. I mean, this is as you know, we are doing here a co-financing activity, and apart from the FSTP, the financial support to third party, which is co-financed 100%, the other activities are co-financed 70% from us, from the EU side. So you have to find the 30%, and how you do it, that's obviously up to you. And the regional authorities could be a key solution for that. This you need to check with them, or you use your own resources, obviously. Okay, then comes one of these buzzwords, innovation diffusion, which comes often in Strand 2A, in the call document for Strand 2A. So I don't know who wants to answer that question. Valentina, Tomislav, Pascal, perhaps? Yeah,
yes,
go ahead.
Yes, I can. So the concept of innovation diffusion is related to the adoption and penetration of a new product, process, or service on the market. And the diffusion of innovation takes place when innovation practice and products reach a market where they are not present yet. So the main players in this process are the initial innovators, the early adopters, the later adopters, and the laggards. And the innovation is fully adopted when it reaches the laggards, usually in the less developed regions.
Exactly. Merci beaucoup. Thank you, Pascal. Let's go to the next one here on interregional investment flows, another buzzword. Yeah, when referring to interregional investment flows, what level of concreteness is expected at pilot stage? Well, this is a difficult question. I mean, Tomislav, Valentina, or Pascal, Katerina, anyone wants to answer that one? No. Katerina, yes?
Yes, from our side, we want to see a credibility of the investment presented in the proposal. So to be concrete, it should be realistic. I mean, it's a bit difficult to reply in a concrete example to this question. But now when we ask for a credibility or also a sustainability of the project beyond the funding, it's really to target and to reply correctly to this question. I mean, it depends also which is the value chain that you are identifying, and but try to be realistic with what is going on in the regions that are involved in the consortium.
Thank you, Katerina. And then here, perhaps the next one, which is an easy one. If you read the call document in detail, you will know what the typical project budget is in Strand 2A. And by the way, also in investment Strand 1, it's the same actually. And well, when you say budget, there's a budget and the total cost, and then there's a budget. And as you know, it's a co-financing call. So we say indicative grant we provide is between 2 and 10 million euros. This is indicative. You can be lower or higher if it's justified by the action. And so if you calculate, then imagine you have a 10 million euro grant, then you have up to 14 million euros, 14 million euros of cost, total cost. Voilà, so that's to answer that one. Then how many projects are to be selected for funding? Yes, indeed. So we have altogether, I think, Katerina, Pascal, 58 million, I think 28 million for Strand 1 and 30, I think,
yeah,
for
58 and 0.4.
So exactly, so 58. We have an average of 6-7 million. So you can calculate, I think we will have around, yeah, I think 8, 9, 10 projects, depending on how much they request per proposal.
Yeah,
the ones that are above the funding threshold or the threshold. Yeah, okay. Then the next one here, how many partners are expected in practice? Is there any guidance on average number of partners from previous successful projects? Well, guidance, the average numbers, whether it's a guidance, I mean, that's up to you. I don't know, Katerina and Pascal, whether you would like to say a few words about the numbers. I mean, we know it from,
yes,
from the running
yes, Pascal, if you allow me. No, in this case, indeed, was also one presented in my slide. What is important, there is not numbers. I mean, what is important that you represent really the quadruple helix, so which are the main stakeholders that should be involved in the interregional innovation investment project, and in terms of also which is their role. So should be very important. That's why I was stressing one of my slides that it's not reaching, I don't know which number that you will make more successful your proposal. But what we want to see is that each one of them have a specific and concrete role in the development of the proposal. So I'm sorry, but there is no minimum, neither a threshold to be presented. That's why it's not present in the call.
Thank you for that, Katerina. Then let's see the next one. Oh, yeah. When can projects placed on the reserve list from the previous call? Well, this I think you answered. The previous call, it'll be in July, August that we sign the grant agreements, and then you can see it on the portal. Thank you. Indeed. Next one. Yeah, that's an easy one. Thanks for this. We evaluate the project proposals. We have a very good database of external experts that are knowledgeable about regional policy, about sometimes sectorial, have sectorial knowledge, and that we need to rotate, so we don't take always the same experts. We even sometimes take some experts that have never evaluated I3. So that's the answer to that question. So it's neutral external experts that evaluate.
And I'm sorry, Eric, I would like
Yes.
to complement that, as you know, we are finalizing also the call for expression of interest that will be available, we assume more or less in June, for indeed promoting the possibility to be registered as an expert in our database.
Very good point. And thanks for this reminder, Katerina, on our long and rich task list. And yeah, perhaps very good. Let's take this one here on AI, on artificial intelligence. And the question is, how are evaluators, external evaluators, using artificial intelligence tools to perform their assessments? And are these private-owned tools? How confidentially is ensured? Well, what's the confidentiality here in all this? And indeed, well, first of all, I would like to tell you that our external experts sign their contract, and in the contract there is an annex that leads to the ethics code of the experts. And in this ethics code, it clearly mentions confidentiality that they have to adhere to. And this means that they have to make sure that when they use AI tools, and this is only exceptionally accepted, actually, we don't encourage it because of these issues, but it is used sometimes for summing up or facilitating the formulation, then they have to make sure that they use tools that where the data is not stored in a way that can where external people have access to. So that's how we legally cover that, and we explain that clearly in the experts briefing. I don't know whether Pascal, our lawyer and co-coordinator, would like to complement this point. Pascal, perhaps?
Oh, no, but we are very careful about this.
Yes, indeed. Okay, then let's see. The one that you see, yeah, this one I think we can skip because resubmissions we discussed. We can take the next one. Does project funding come from ERDF regional funds for each project partner? Does that mean that regional authorities are gatekeepers to project approval for funding? And thanks, Tomislav, for already showing your screen and showing your willingness to answer that one.
Yeah, that's a very nice cohesion policy question, and thanks for this question, whoever submitted this. Indeed, it is ERDF funding, but it's centralized, so it's only on us, on ESMEA, to deal with this. So in no way regional authorities are gatekeepers. Thanks.
Thank you for that. And yes, the next one. Just a quick reminder: we have now it's 11:49 Central European Time, so we have a bit less than 10 minutes before I close the session. A reminder that don't worry if you haven't seen your question yet. We will address it through answering it in writing and publishing it on the Q&A document that Katarina and Pascal will prepare in the next weeks. So, can 2 or 3 partners come from the same region? Yes, of course. There are minimum requirements, but it doesn't mean that you have to have all regions only represented once. So a clear yes. The next question. Yeah, that's a classic. What does it mean? What does minimum 50% of the total eligible costs must be incurred in less developed regions mean? Do less developed regions have to hold the budget, the 50% themselves, or can non-LDR partner budgets count here if they deliver activities exclusively for less developed regions? I think I know the answer, but please, Pascal and Katerina, you can answer them if you wish. You are the co-coordinators, of course.
So no, yes, about the 50%, yes, we receive plenty of this kind of comments also by the ongoing project. And as we demonstrated, we was presented also by Pascal in her slide. I mean, in the calculation of this percentage, we take into account plenty of other aspects also, including, for example, if it's foreseen the FSTP, the tangible and not tangible also activity. So it will reply, for example, yes to the last part of the question if I well understood what does it means. It's quite comprehensive, I mean, aspect of factors that are taken into account for the calculation of the 50%. That was
yeah. I mean, basically, look at the budget table. That's if you look at the budget table and you know who are the less developed regions that represented, then you have already a big part of the answer. The uncertainty is about the financial support to third parties, because obviously sometimes the FSTP part is held by a coordinator that comes from a more developed region or a transition region. In that case, if you explain to us how you would like to distribute the FSTP money during the project, then this can also count then towards the 50% LDR, less developed region. Okay, now let's see the next one. Can ISMEA support during proposal preparation? Well, we do not support ourselves because, of course, of the, well, we do it indirectly here by doing this info day, for example, but we don't do, for example, proposal checks, of course. This is something that we cannot, because we are legally, we are not allowed to do that. But there's plenty of ways to get prepared. And I mentioned already the I3 support facility website, the activities, the matchmaking tools that we have now available. And then in your regions, there are also plenty of regional events that take place that are sometimes supported by the support facility. So I would like to encourage you to really check the I3 support facility website for any support. Okay, then could you clarify if there has been a major change in the expectations for the project impact, or is the shift in this call mostly about clarifying the expectations towards applicants and splitting impact into several components? I think Tomislav, that's, oh yeah, or the call coordinators, please go ahead.
Yes, no, there is not a major change in the expectations. What we would like to see is to see a proposal that present clearly which are the impacts of the ongoing implementation, and as we repeated now several times, on the sustainability of the project beyond the EU funding. So that's why we decide to split in sub criteria, sorry, the evaluation criteria of impacts, just to give you an additional guidance in how to express better the impact of your project. But there are not major changes in our expectations. I mean, what I would like to stress out.
Mm-hmm. Good, thank you, Katerina. Let's take the one on S3 partnerships, colleagues, please. What is the role of S3 partnerships? Is their participation still encouraged? Well, okay, I see already the Tomislav, the answer is a clear yes, but please go ahead.
Yes, indeed, it's encouraged. There is no additional points and additional benefits when it comes to award criteria, but definitely the experience that you can get from S3 partnerships is something that will make advantage in your proposal.
Thank you. The next one is on SMEs and the FSTP. Well, should they be involved in the consortium, or must they be beneficiaries of the FSTP? Well, must they be third parties, FSTP? Look, I mean, this is one of the key questions, and obviously we want the target group is SMEs, so it's not enough to put them under financial support to third parties, but perhaps the coordinators or Virginie would like to answer that question. Because it's very clear that our target is, yeah, Virginie, go ahead.
So I have to change. Yeah, so as we said, I mean, FSTP is not compulsory. It should be complementary to what the main investors, so there must be, it's not should, I think it's must. There must be SMEs in the consortium. Otherwise, we don't have investment ready in the consortium, so there must be. So then FSTP should be complementary. Yes, we have increased now the maximum amount a company can get to FSTP. So maybe you can do a mix. So maybe you can go for smaller consortium with less SMEs in the consortium and have more finance with FSTP, but it's really up to you, and also depending about what you intend to do with the project. So it could be broad, it could be narrow in terms of value chain segment or several segments. So it's really up to you, but there must be SMEs in the consortium, I think. No choice for that. FSTP is not compulsory. Voilà. You're muted, Eric, I think.
Yeah, somebody unmuted me. Many thanks, colleagues. Now, I wanted to say that we have time for 2 more minutes, 2 more questions, perhaps 2 minutes still. So the one on transition regions, Tomislav DG Regio, I think it's a good one for you. How transition regions support will be considered as a priority if there is no distinction in terms of budget support, if it's the case for the less developed, question mark.
Yes, thank you. So the expectation is that projects should demonstrate meaningful involvement, economic benefits for transition regions, but actually the same answer goes for less developed regions and more developed regions. So it's really not about budget, it's about wider value chain logic and benefits of involvement of each region. Definitely not only formal participation. As for less developed regions, as for outermost region participants, less developed, more developed, the same.
Yeah, and Tomislav, please stay online. I think that could be the last one. You have the honor to answer it if it's okay for you. And that is difficult to answer because it really depends on the applicants themselves. They ask, how can I3 projects better demonstrate that less developed regions are becoming real economic actors within European value chains, and rather than only simple hosting pilot activities?
Yeah, well, I mean, might be a very long answer, but in short, transferring solutions from more advanced regions to less developed regions, helping SMEs in these less developed regions to adopt new technologies, then of course creating these demonstration sites, pilot environments, connecting clusters and building stronger links between research and industry and public sectors in less developed regions. So really a great number of possibilities how to demonstrate this involvement of less developed regions.
Many thanks for this. So applicants, we need to close. It's 2:12, and some may be hungry if you are in Eastern European time. You may it's perhaps 1 p.m. already at your place. So I would like to close this Q&A session and reassure you that once again that we will get back to you with the written answers to all of the questions, including the ones we answered, by the way, not only the ones that were not answered. So stay tuned in the next days to get the link and weeks to get the link to the Q&A document that will be redone and updated as we go on. I would like to thank all speakers involved from my team, from ISMEA, from DG Regio, of course, and thank all the participants. I think at peak time we had more than 200 participants. That's very encouraging. I would like to remind that we have recorded this session, that you will also receive the PowerPoint presentation, of course, and then again the Q&A document at a later stage. And I would like to encourage you to take a moment to reply to the survey. It will help us to improve our performance. And I think the last slide is on the reminder of the email addresses and the website we have from the A3 instrument section of ISMEA, and of course the call document mentioned functional email box, and we are also on X and on LinkedIn as well. So thanks for your interest in the A3 instrument, and I wish you a good afternoon and good luck. Bye-bye.